So Serena Williams played in her Serena Williams played in her last tennis match the other day. She announced that she's going to be retiring before the U.S. Open, which, that was this tournament that's going on right now. So she announced that she's going to retire. I put out a podcast probably like the beginning of 2020, and I talked about like the non-traditional sports cards and like goats from those sports, and wondered, what could happen with those cards. So, for example, I think I talked about in that podcast, I think it was like Tiger Woods, Mike Tyson, and Serena Williams were basically the three players that I talked about in that one. So Serena actually has a couple different cards. So like the first card that I probably would look into if you're looking into any of her cards is going to be the 2003 Net Pros set. So there's a couple different variations that I think are important to know. So there's the regular base set, which I think there's like a ton of those. And then there's also a glossy version, which in the factory sets, there was one. I forget the exact configurations of it, but I know that there was only 100 made. So I think what it must have been was there was one glossy card per factory set. So I think that I think that's what it was. So the glossy variation, I don't believe the cards are numbered, but there was only 100 of them made. So like those ones are kind of going to be a step up. But the next card that I think is very interesting, that I don't know if you're on the internet, then you know who this guy is. He is the co-founder of Reddit. Like, he created Reddit. He's also Serena Williams' husband. And I think he put out this very interesting tweet. He also is one of the co-founders of Alt, which Alt is doing something pretty interesting where they bought, I think they bought 4 or 5 of the big one-of-ones at the National from this year's Prism football. Like, I think they bought, like, the Jalen Mills, the Trevor Lawrence, the Trey Lance, and I don't know if they bought the Mac Jones or the Wilson, but the Wilson. I don't remember which of those two they ended up buying, but either way. So he actually said that there's only 8 PSA 10s of the 99 Sports Illustrated for Kids perforated card. So like, if you remember this, I mean, I remember it pretty vividly, like getting these Sports Illustrated for Kids, taking out the cards that were in there, folding them up, taking them out. These cards came from those magazines. So they're pretty hard to grade, to be honest. Like, another one that's kind of like that perforated one is the Rock Bumblebee card from when he played in football in Miami. That was another one that was like that. So he said that he owns 4 of the 8, which I think is really cool. It's interesting. It's cool. You could look at it and say, well, he's cornering the market, but I don't even, it isn't like he's just some random guy. Like, he's obviously Serena Williams' husband, so it's not like he's really cornering any market, to be honest. He's obviously into sports cards, which is really cool. Of all the companies that kind of started, I think Alt is definitely one of the best, companies that kind of has started sort of in this, I guess you could call it a post-pandemic era. I mean, we saw some companies kind of come in and then come out, and Alt is, like I said, been one of the ones that's sort of, I think made a stay in the industry. And I don't know, I guess it's maybe something to look in a little bit more. Like, I think they have a good grasp on kind of what people are interested in and kind of the, maybe some of the things of the industry that people want more of, and maybe that's why. I think they had a really good referral program, like when they first launched. I think it was like $50 or something for a referral, which I think has gone down now. So that definitely could be something else that, altered the sort of trajectory of the company, was getting a bunch of people into Alt right when they started. But also then, it ends up being a good company. And I think that's sort of, for a while, it was sort of one of the companies that, like, I was hearing that people were saying you could get deals there and then either sell on eBay or sell, up on, flip on Alt, stuff along those lines. But, like, getting customers in the door, I think it can be hard for the sports card industry, because what happens with sports cards for sure is that people don't like change at all. Like, if any news that comes out really about anything new in the sports card industry, people just hate it. Like, they just do not like things that are new. So I think it's impressive for them to come in and kind of make a statement, I guess, honestly, because they they came in and they did a good job at getting people in and then also having a good product. Alt was also the company that sold the one-of-one Josh Allen the other day. One thing that's not really part of that kind of conversation, but like something that I thought was really interesting was that it was with Contenders Football, and like I said, this is I don't know where this is going to go, but with the Contenders Football, they have variations, but they also had numbered variations. So like the one-of-one Josh Allen that sold was the actual one-of-one, but then like a couple months ago, there was the one-of-one variation that was pulled, and as most of you probably know, I do videos for Collectible, and one of the pieces of one of the videos that I made was talking about that card, and I thought it was the same one, and then I realized it was different. I had to not really completely change the video, but change a part of the video. But, it should say on their variation or something, or variation ticket or something along those lines. Like, it does have a different logo and a different picture, but it's like, if you're new coming into sports cards, how are you even supposed to really know the difference between, the Contenders base and the Contenders variation? It's a little bit confusing, but that's kind of beside the point. But so Alt sold the one-of-one non-variation Josh Allen, which I think is really cool. And we'll see, like, going forward, the companies I think that are starting the vault first are going to, I think they're fixing some of the roadblocks maybe that people have within cards, to be honest. Like, I think maybe one of the issues that people have is like the buying and selling and shipping of cards, like UPS, like people are, with UPS in general has actually had issues with like people taking mail, which, if you are somebody selling sports cards, or if you're somebody that's working in this, the mail industry or whatever, and you're into cards, like, you probably know what the package is going to look like, unfortunately. So like, you're going to run into issues where, packages get lost, people take the cards. So I think like even Check Out My Cards, for example, I'm surprised that Check Out My Cards hasn't become more popular, and maybe they're sort of catering towards an audience that they don't really necessarily want to grow, I guess, because they have so many cards on their platform, and it's all, they're trading digitally. They're trading digitally the physical assets, which is sort of what Alt is doing, which is, you've seen that with like PWCC does that now, eBay does that now. So I think the vaults and the physical ownership of a card that you can trade digitally is something that, when I first got into the industry, it was actually one of the ways that I got into cards in general, was from playing MLB The Show. And one of the things that I really liked about MLB The Show was buying and selling the cards on the market, essentially. And that's what I kind of thought you could do with sports cards. It ended up not being as easy as I sort of expected, and this was before a lot of like the big companies, this was even before like Star Stock. Like, it was like Check Out My Cards, and I think the Pit was another one that, the Pit was another company that I knew of that sort of did this digital trading thing first. So I don't know. I mean, I think like Check Out My Cards, like, you see all of these other companies raising money, but Check Out My Cards really hasn't. I don't know how or what they would do. Realistically, with Check Out My Cards, the thing that I would do would just be upgrade the website. But at the same time, it's like, why change a good thing? If you have it working and you know it's working, like, why make a change there, I guess, is sort of maybe what they're thinking. But yeah, so, I mean, Serena, like I said, absolute legend. We'll see in a few years what happens with tennis cards. I think there are a couple tennis players right now. I think his name is Carlos Alcaraz, I think is his last name. I'm not 100% sure if that's how it's pronounced, or if I'm missing any of the letters there. But he's like this young up-and-coming star who's getting a card in NetPro, which is the company that made the Serena card in 2003, which I think that 2003 NetPro set is probably going to be one that ends up, if you're looking for some sort of iconic sealed wax, I think that set has Roger Federer, Djokovic, and Serena Williams. That's like a crazy set from that year. But if you're looking to go even higher with Serena Williams, this 1999 Sports Illustrated for Kids card is going to be the one that you probably want to go with, but it's definitely going to be a lot more expensive than, the 2003 Net Pros card.